Good morning, Sleeping Beauty. A loud voice shook me awake. I collected my senses and raised my head slightly. White coat, glasses, white shirt. Good morning, doctor. I yawned. Yep, almost correct. Only that I'm not the doctor. The extroverted voice replied to me. I scratched my eyes only to see that it wasn't the doctor at all. Instead, a woman in her 40s stood in front of me and smiled. I smiled back as she introduced herself. So this is the first time we meet, since you were asleep all the time. My name is Jessica. Welcome to the Club of Suffering. Quite disturbed due to her humor, I asked further. Is that the reason you called me Sleeping Beauty? Damn right, she chuckled. I thought sleeping has become your purpose in life. Being invited by her harsh manners, I suggested that we should switch sides, alluding that I had severe headache, which felt like 20 elephants in original scale trampling on my head. Here, take some of the good stuff, she said while handing me a cup with pills. I didn't hesitate and gulped the medicine down my throat. Then I let my head sink back on the pillow to find my peace, but she interrupted that again. Did I mention before that you look like a mummy? I looked at her again, but this time I couldn't help but laugh at her sentence with all I had, notwithstanding my head issues. That question was so blunt, but yet so funny and unpredictable. Please wait until my pain fades, then you can make me laugh as often as you wish, I begged her, still grinning. She laughed before touching my leg and wishing me amelioration. Then she walked towards the exit of this room, but before she got out, she noted one last thing. Maybe you could pass some time with your neighbor. I'm sure it would help both of you. This time she had this shy smile on her lips, which made it look different compared to before. As I read between the lines, I could assume that there was an essence of seriosity in what she concluded. When she had left, I twisted my neck again, only to see that there is no one there. But what in the world are they all talking about? Is my mental condition that bad, or do I simply miss something? My neighbor. Out of frustration, I spoke with the empty bed. Hey, my name is Aaron. How are you? Obviously no response. I imitated an answer by saying, Hello, my name is Sam. Oh my gosh, this is madness. I turned myself on my back again, from where I looked 20 minutes straight at the ceiling. This is so abnormally boring, just laying here and suffering from that dull concussion. I mean, I can't sleep all the time. Theoretically I could, and I also should, but I grabbed my phone and looked at the screen, with all the messages popping up. Well, 2 messages from Ben, 4 from Patrick, then a couple of messages from my family, my mom and dad. And last but not least, the group chat of our football team. There's a lot to answer, a lot to catch up with. And so I found myself occupied with the written versions of all those people. My friend Ben asked me when I were able to play video games again. Yes, he knew about my state, that I was in hospital and so on, but he never was too emotional or sensitive to wrap his direct personality. He distinctly brought up this point without talking much about the edge. That is how I knew him since 2nd grade of elementary school, and that is still how he is to that day. He hasn't changed at all, but regardless, he is my friend. I wouldn't trade for anything. Like that behaves the connection with Patrick, whom I know since 11th grade. Unlike Ben, Patrick and I shared an unbreakable friendship only because both of us have changed so much throughout the years. When I remember back to middle school, we always avoided each other. He had his group he stuck with and I had mine. But when high school came, and the time we could choose our subjects, and therefore our individual schedules, everything changed. The courses in which both of us participated somehow connected us. We began to ask each other about the topics of the lesson, and soon we handed the materials to one another when we missed one. He did it for me and vice versa. Soon we saw that we had way more connections than just school. Our first extracurricular activity we talked about was, well, YouTube poop. It still makes me smile when I even think about it. You could say it is nothing more than a remix of a video. And the funny thing is, when people say random things they wouldn't even think about in that kind of situation. One example is the news reporter who told the viewers about his weekend. After all, it was just common humor between Patrick and me. And this YouTube poop was the first time we really perceived that. But it was only the beginning, and nowadays we're even talking about highly complex and specific matters like philosophy and religion. He is so different compared to Ben, but just as close to me. However, in both cases I'm glad I met them throughout the stages of my life, whereby this gratitude especially refers to the relationship with Patrick, because he defines friendship as personal, emotional, empathic, unlike it is usually seen to these times. Those Facebook friends who seemingly share an intimate relationship, though they haven't even met in real life. But that's just how it is, and it's still my choice to jump out of that. That's, by the way, also commonality between the three of us. The avoidance of Facebook and different kinds of social media. We never saw the necessity to register, since we have WhatsApp, which is also similar to social media somehow. Social media a little bit more personal. Anyways, for now I have thrived enough in the past. Maybe I should also reply, simply to show them that I'm fine. And so I did, and wrote to both that I keep them updated. Further, I showed them that there is no need to visit, because I claimed quite optimistically that I'm rather out here today than tomorrow. So that was the first step of my message processing inside the hospital because I'm bored activity, and I moved on to the next step to deal with the messages of my parents. For they've just visited me, it was held quite simple, only with the annotations that I could write them if I needed something. To that I didn't really respond, because I needed nothing at all. There was nothing that made time pass quicker. Regarding that, there's only one option, but it almost seems like a time machine at the same time. I'm talking about sleeping. I mean, you lay yourself down, relax, and when you come back, you will notice that hours have passed. It suddenly made sense what they told me before about that. When I'm asleep, I'm not bored anymore, and at the same time, I'm regenerating much quicker. Okay. I have to acknowledge that it would be better indeed when I just laid the phone aside and closed my eyes. I will do that, but primarily my task is to also respond to the third and less significant group, the football team. I never had any close connections there. I did it just for fun, went to the training sessions, the games, and so on. But I never had the intention to create some kind of friendship between me and one of them. So I just replied briefly in between all those circulating messages by saying thanks to their wishes and then submitting the update that I'm quite far on the path of betterment. Except for these responses, my mind convinced me to catch up with something else by making me remember that mummy joke Jessica told me. Without any doubts, I had a bandage. I could even feel it. But was it really that bad? They said to me, based on their initial experiments, that inside my head everything were probably fine and the way it should be. But what about the outside? Will there be any scars or unpleasant signs of the past? When I create a mental image associated with mummy, I think of such a humanoid creature which is totally wrapped in toilet paper for amusement's sake. So, do I look like Toilet Paper Man? As a result of my following stroke of genius, at which I remembered that my mobile phone had a selfie camera, I grabbed it and searched for the app. Ad hoc, it was the simplest way to look at my exterior without asking for a mirror or something like that. If I did that, they would probably keep me here for longer, saying that my mental condition is not sufficient for leaving. No, the calmer I appear, the quicker I'm out of here. When I consecutively opened the application, I raised tension by avoiding the direct view on myself. Instead, I step by step approached closer to the middle of my face. Then, 3, 2, 1. And with a rapid movement, I displayed my entire face. Okay. Face to face with myself, I recognized that one estimated half of my face was completely covered in bandage. The nasal and the forehead area. Every other area seemed normal. My eyes, my mouth, still looked the same, regardless of those red spots. So the most relevant senses were intact. Seeing, although it was quite difficult in the beginning, as well as my sense of taste, were perfectly fine. Hearing and smelling were difficult, since the bandage covered wide areas of that. But relieving is the fact that it won't be forever. However, with all that, including my beauty check, finally finished, I had reached my limits and felt weak and tired again as a result. So I eventually put my phone aside and soon lost consciousness.